Hey, what's up, everybody? BDF 44 coming into another video. All right, so I figured I'd do a therapy session because I haven't done one in a while. And yeah, this is one of them days where I'm like, man, miscalculations of funds once again keeps me in the dark with certain things that I need to do. And so when you're waiting on Fidelity to send you money that you've secured for yourself over the weekend, that money is going to take many days. So you got to make sure you don't try to make any transactions on a Friday with the intent of anything happening before Tuesday, because they are going to operate that way. So I ain't got no groceries in the house, but a little bit of rice, a little bit of chicken. After that, I'm just gonna be starving myself until my money transfers. So it's kind of in no man's land. Money's on the way, but it ain't here yet. So it's famine time in my house. But you know, these are the mistakes you make when you don't follow the rules of the world, so to speak, and do what everybody else is doing to secure that you are in a position to have what you need. I didn't do that a lot of the time over the last 2 years, and so as a result, I'm constantly snatching from money I've been saving. And so when you do that, you got to go through the process of what that means. And what that means is it takes time for you to get it from where it needs to go, as opposed to it already being there. But I don't like my money laying dormant. It ain't gonna be sitting in no savings account for no reason, which means it's gonna be working for me while I don't have it. So that's the sacrifice made. You gotta wait for these corrupt companies that have control of your money to give it to you. And they are very much corrupt, as we know. Crypto billionaires, man. Rest in peace to all those guys who are losing their lives, man. All these coincidences. It's like 4 billionaires died in a matter of like 7 days. And while crypto is bleeding out, if you guys follow me, you know I have a lot of belief in crypto, but no belief in the markets themselves. That's why I got out of crypto. All of the products are fine. All the stuff I believe in even more than I did back then. All of my favorite stuff. Dog Alarm Mars, my little meme coin. I'd love to own as much of it as possible. I think it's going to make people really wealthy. But between now and then, the crypto market is corrupt. It's corrupt just like the stock market. And whatever you own, you just got to understand you're going to see a lower price before the end of, before it's over with. Whatever you bought, you're going to see lower. Because these people are corrupt to no end. And they're in control of how things are being sold. So that's how I view just about every financial market in the world that I'm aware of. You know, everything is corrupted. The way to do it is to corrupt it. It's basically what I've come to believe. That's the only way people know how to make it work, is to cheat the game of finance. So that's why I'm reluctant to kind of waste as much as my time working for people. As others do, or trying to be a part of all that. I know I should. Obviously, it's going to pay great. It's going to hurt later. It's the opposite of dividends. It's going to hurt me later. But time is what I'm working with. Time is what most matters to me. To be honest with you, I don't look at it as, oh my God, I need to hurry and get this much money because God can end my heart right then. He can stop my heart right there, and I won't be able to spend a single dime of it. The only money you really have is the money you're actually spending. The rest of that stuff is just sitting somewhere waiting for you to give it to somebody else, or waiting for you to hand it back to the government. So the way I see it is, I'm not going to waste my time killing myself or trying my best to earn money for others. My life's blood and my energy, my creative juices and all these different things, I'd rather not. I'd pour it into things that make myself confident, pour it into things that make me fulfilled. And if it happens to align with money-making practices, then that'll be a choice that I've made in prayer. But as far as I can tell, everything that has to do with doing things the way that people have been told to do it is just playing right into the enemy's hands. And I do believe it's the enemy. Those who control the financial markets, those who want to control our mindsets and how we think, how we pray, how we vote. And please do vote. If you're knowledgeable about what it is you're doing. I've been one who says I don't think you should vote if you don't know what you're doing. But if you do know what you're doing, you definitely should take it upon yourself to help mold the world around you in a positive way. And this is how they've set it up for us to do it. So yeah, exercise that opportunity. Today's one of the big days to do it. But all in all, man, I'm saying, for me, it's just like I look at the world as so rigged and corrupt at this point, to the only thing I really care to do is what I want. And that doesn't mean that I feel like I have a right to do anything. What I hope to do is align my wants with what is right, what makes sense, balance, what makes sense to my spirit as I pray, what makes sense to the betterment of others and myself as well, not just the betterment of myself. So how I best define that is happening now. I'm learning to continue to make these therapy sessions, try to build up my own mindset and keep myself going in a positive way. In that way, keep fighting the things that lead me to negative thoughts and depression, for which I've done a good job of for the most part. Continue to create, continue to invest in myself, and it pertains to my practices and the things that I can get good at. Invest in myself, get good at what I do for me, not to live up to someone else's expectations, not to live up to somebody else's measures and standards of what it is that they think success should be, not living up to what they think excellence should be based on the agreements they have about how they do the job with ultimate respect. When you're talking about journalism, there's a right way to do things and a responsible way to speak. And so I respect the practice of going to school and getting that done before calling yourself a journalist. I am not. I'm a blogger. I'm a person who speaks and spews from his head. So that's what you come here for. You don't come here for responsible journalism or people who've done the journalistic work. Absolutely not. I'm not one of those people. They've done the work. They deserve to be given that respect. And so these are the type of things that I come to. I'm like, look, I'm a talker, man. I'm not here telling you I'm the most responsible person. I'm trying to get there. And so in doing so, I feel myself qualified to talk about things that I failed at, things that I wasn't so good at, holding my confidence, keeping myself involved in things that allow me to be social all the time, things that I'm not very good at all. Those are the things I'm willing to speak about. And I think I'm qualified too, based on my engaging in the wrong activities in that way, and then having them play out a certain way that I don't think is favorable to most. Maybe I can help y'all avoid some of that stuff if that's what your life is about to lead toward or what have you. So that's what I try to do, give y'all my life experiences, give you my understanding, give me my view on how I see things. And ultimately what I've been looking at lately is just a whole lot of manipulation. A lot of stuff as I go into myself trying to find out why I'm depressed about certain things, I realize I find standards that are not my own, measures that have been put in place for me to reach for that I hadn't sorted through to realize that this stuff is there to create the angst that ultimately is there. I didn't want to go out because I didn't have a certain class to display. I didn't want to go after that class because I didn't want to face the pressures that people who go after that level of success or what have you often find when they're doing it from this level. You got to go out there, do this, that, and the third, spend 16, 17 hours of this, sleep maybe 4 hours a night and love it like that. I just never was that person, man. The dedication it takes to build myself to where I want to go, it takes a lot more than what comes naturally to me to do. And because I'm one of those people who believe that living in my best comfort zone, I guess, is all I can do. And anytime I step out of that, I find myself overwhelming myself and ultimately wanting to crash and burn. And the key word to that is wanting to. For whatever reason, I just stop wanting to continue once it gets to a point where I'm frustrated. Whether it's working hard at a job like I did 2 years ago with this security crap, trying to keep up with it for the reasons that didn't satisfy myself. It drove me to a very bad place, as you guys already know from watching so many of these therapy sessions, if you have. So it's just one of those things where it's like, I'm happy where I'm at. I'm happy with how I'm living, even though this is not the way I was taught men are supposed to live. You got to go out, you got to do what you got to do. You got to pay into your situation and ultimately build and own. That's what's going to give you the leverage to truly enjoy your time. But the way I see it is you got to waste a bunch of time to get to that point, and there's no guarantee you ever get there. By the time you get to that point, maybe you run into a wall and find out one of those people behind the curtain are either going to give you opportunities to live up to their expectations or take away that hard work and all that stuff that you've put into it to get to that point where you're at that door and they're telling you can either come in or not. And I get there, done all that damn work, and find out I can't walk through that door. I'm liable to burn the whole place down. So knowing me, it's just best not to even approach that door because of it. And that's the point. It's like when you know your parameters, you know how extreme or or how involatile you have felt on the inside, you understand that you probably need to work out the inside of yourself before you become famous, before you go out there and try to expose yourself to the whole world. You need to make sure your energy right. And that's also part of it. My energy has never been right in my entire life until pretty much I started this process. Learning how to love myself in this way, learning how to accept myself in this way, learning how to heal myself in this way. This was what was needed for me to even get to a point where I felt like I could contribute in a good way. I look at some of the celebrities that are out there, man, they get the spotlight on them and all they can show you is what's wrong with them. They get a million people on them, the eyes on them, and all they can show you is the worst version they got. I truly, truly believe that I was well on the way of being that person if I would have got famous at any point before this moment. I didn't have the energy. Energy is not the word. I didn't have the spirit to be as consistent as I want to be. And I didn't have the spirit to be as brave as I respect. I didn't have the temperament to be as balanced as I would need to be to give the version of myself that I want to show to the world. As I've said to you guys in this video here, a lot of what I've been able to learn from has been mistakes. A lot of what I've been able to learn from is going down the wrong path and staying away from stuff that brings me success. It makes me an expert in what is success is not. Makes me an expert in what it is that basically you shouldn't do. You know what I mean? In certain areas. So as I learned to accept this, I realized that the path I've been on has led me to that space and allows me that opportunity. So you just accept it. Not everybody's going to be able to give you the answers to what you should do, but a lot of people have done things wrong and they can tell you exactly what not to. And so that's part of what I bring to the table, I think, but in a different way. I think a lot of people walk the life I've walked. When they say they've taken the wrong path, it ain't the path I took. And they went outside, they ended up doing some things that maybe got them in some trouble. They got locked up. Maybe they, hurt somebody or whatever. Maybe they found themselves involved in some organizations or what have you. I took a different route because of my social ways, I guess you could say. Because of my social ways, I never desired to be close to anybody like that, to be a part of nobody's group. I felt safer alone. That's how I always felt. I never felt safer in the presence of others. The way I always see it is, a lot of times people bring all types of different stuff to your situation. And you don't know who you're standing next to because you don't know what they did before you got to that point. So you think you're in a car with a friend or whatever. You don't know what type of living they're doing. They got something in the trunk to put you in the way for the rest of your life. You know what I mean? Or they just got to do something in that car that you would probably get indicted for if you all got stopped together. Like when you understand that that's the environment you in, you understand that's what you can find, you tend to stay away from that. Like I know that's what I could find if I were to go outside and do all the stuff that I could, get into for what I look like, for what my community could provide me. A lot of what I'm gonna do when I go outside is gonna involve getting around those environments and being in those situations. I don't thrive in them situations. You know what I mean? I've never thrived in those situations. And so I've learned to avoid those situations for the betterment of survival. Survive this way, you know what I mean? Stay out of arenas that you're not best to play in. And so I'm a lone wolf, you know what I mean? And because of it, I think I could tell some people about an avenue that maybe they don't see people that look like me take very often. You know what I mean? You can hear about the mistakes that are made when you don't, when you take a bad path, but it ain't the streets. You feel me? And so that's kind of how I could kind of approach people with that mentality. I took a different route, and it also led the wrong way. Isolated, going deep into yourself while everybody else is looking to please one another and live up to each other's standards. You remove the idea that standards even matter. You try to deliberately go toward your own failure because it's something you can control, as we've mentioned many times. That's what I did. I gave the finger to the whole world and retreated many times in this life, including right now. And it's kept me able, for some wacky reason, to take care of myself better than I ever been able to take care of myself when I was out there doing everything everybody else was doing. And I think it had to do with how I live when I'm alone. The discipline that I allow myself to have when there ain't no influence around me. I ain't going to McDonald's. I'm not going to eat at any of those places you guys are going to want to go to. You know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. So I'm going to be able to stay in better conditioning because of my choices. You feel me? It's going to be that way. Well, if I'm with my friends, we go stop here, we go stop there, we going to be there, we're going to be there, and we're going to be doing everything that comes with those things. As I've learned. Living and learning, We go eat there, we go drink there, we go hang out over here. Because my friends are normal people. The people I chose to be friends with, they like going out, they like to date, everything. They like doing all normal stuff. I just happen to not be wired for any of that. I happen to want to be somebody who want to retreat to the house and literally live like this comfortably, and it's like, it's so very strange. Most people I've known, when they have their life in order, quote unquote, they got their job, if they were in school, if that point of their life is straight, they have a relationship, all of that, they're usually able to be at peace with that. That's when they feel most comfortable. I need all that removed from my life in order to feel most comfortable. The pressures that come with living up to either the expectations of things or meeting the consistency of those things take away from what's natural to me, which is this. Just this right here, just being by myself, absolute at peace, letting my mind do what it does without anybody to distract or influence. And with that comes a relationship that allows me connection with God. There ain't nobody over here telling me how to mess with my energy or enticing me to anything at all. There's no lust to the left of me. There's nobody, giving me expectations to the right of me. There's no one in front of me saying you need to hurry up and go rush towards sin so that we can eat. There's none of that going on around me, right? At least not right now. So I'm able to not have any of that and directly communicate with the Lord and directly communicate with myself. Which is why you can come to me for a different perspective than what most are going through, because most people haven't isolated themselves to this degree or felt comfortable in that isolation. Their minds go to negative places when they get in that isolation. They lose themselves in that isolation. I do not. I find myself in that isolation. And it's not complete isolation. It's not like I'm sitting here without light and, the camera and all this. I got the entire phone, which will connect me to the world, allows me to stay rhythmically social. But at the end of the day, it's about not having the influence of others saying, hey, B, let's go this way. Hey, B, let's go that way. Hey, B, why don't you want to do this? Hey, B, why? It's like none of that. All of that is eliminated. And now I just have the relationship between myself and then my relationship with God and myself. And that's where I like to be. That's what I like. And then connect with you guys with what it is that I find in here. And that's what it's about, especially as a creative. I think a lot of times, most human beings, and I do say this with a great deal of positive energy, this is not a bad thing. Most human beings are not creators. They're not creators at all. They continue to build from what is put in place for them before. You know what I mean? They take the norms that their grandparents gave them, they take the norms of the world around them, and then they take the understanding that they have of themselves and they build forth. They have their families, they go get their career going, they do their educational thing, they start their hobbies, they get their social life going, and then that is what it is until it's time to go. But with people like myself, I really believe like I'm a different type of organism to where I was put here to help others with new agreements. Like the stuff that y'all looking at that you don't question. You need somebody like myself to be in the middle of this somehow, away from it, but aware of it enough and creative of a mind enough to give you something new. And so that's what I do. I come with something new. I come with what I found on the inside, not necessarily what I'm taking from the outside, which is in this phone, which provides me only a handheld perspective, which I'm very aware is limited to no end. But it gives me enough for this brain to take what it gives me and then apply other stuff and apply that creative math, so to speak, to put things together, to pair things, to see similarities, to see hypocrisies, to mix and match things that are unrelated and put them together and see how they are manipulated in such a way to help us view ourselves, view one another, and ultimately we're seeing there's a lot of wickedness involved in that. It would be wonderful if those methods were used to help us become better people, but I don't believe that it's meant for that. I think we're in the middle of a 100, 200, 300 year plan or so, or something like that. And we're just a discardable generation that we're meant to just continue like the slaves were. Earn, work, die, replenish with new people. And it's like, even though we're not in chains, even though we're not all black slaves, it's still the same thing. It's still supposed to do the same thing. It's just a much more humane and less torturous way of extracting the lifeblood of the generations in place. You don't have to necessarily put them in chains, treat them bad, separate their families and all that. But you could take all of what it is that they do and exploit it. And anytime they reach for any type of heights, or anytime they reach for any type of ownership, or anytime they need something in regards to helping them legally, they have to cross over the threshold from which you control. And so these are the type of things that we understand are in place. And they're really, really intricately placed in a position to be your foundation. So if you don't have, or if you're not involved with what it is that they have in place, then chances are you're somewhat like me. You don't own anything, you don't have anything, you're probably not going after me. And that's the point. That's the point. It's like, as soon as you sign yourself a contract of any kind, you're stuck. Anytime they come get you for anything that you haven't done, in regards to paying off taxes and things like that, you're stuck. So they have you by the balls all the way around, and you only get a short window of time to do what it is that I'm doing. Essentially just say F all of them for a time, and then let the consequences come as it may, and pray that the Lord change the world so that it doesn't ultimately fall back on you for doing the wrong things, because you haven't done anything wrong. You've realized the rigging in the game and you stop playing. which is what all of us need to do in order to see true change. But people are afraid to do that and don't know to do that because they're too busy doing things that have worked the way they're trained to do, the way they're supposed to do as non-creative people who are just looking to apply what it is that's been in place for so long and do it blindlessly and endlessly so that they can live their lives in structure that they can grasp, which is what societies are. Structures you can grasp. And I'm sorry, but those structures are only graspable because we've been limited to an understanding of what it is that we can or cannot grasp. We've been told that we cannot function unless we're all uniformed. And what I'm telling you is that was just a lack of faith put in place by someone who didn't believe in man, who didn't believe in the evolution of man naturally without what was otherwise in place for structure. And so structure is helpful, man. It does help. I'm not going to sit up here and say it doesn't help. It's one way to move as an organism while we continue to try to evolve. But as evolution gets closer and closer, we need not have some of those things in place that were just old in ways that we have evolved through. You know, treating people poorly, thinking that we can have bad energy and get the right results, think that we can lie our way through the world. You can't lie your way through the world. You can't fake the funk forever. That doesn't work. When you have provable, tools that can disprove all lies, as we talk about endlessly on this channel. As soon as the internet turned on, man, all them lives y'all was holding on to, they had to stop. And that's what we talk about. So now we're in a space where lives are getting disproven. People are starting to find out who they are. People are starting to understand that what was in place from them ain't no good. And now we're trying to get to a place where we can unlearn that stuff so we can teach our kids a better way. We don't have to keep having wars and stuff like that over religious stuff. We know better than that. It doesn't mean that we don't believe in a God. It just means that a lot of the religions have been manipulated over the years to make us believe in something different rather than what it is it's telling us to believe in. If you have a relationship with God, you know God doesn't want you killing people like that. You know he don't want you snatching people's land. It ain't your land to snatch. It ain't their land to take from them. It's God's land. And we're all on it with borrowed time. And so if we're moving with the understanding that your life is on borrowed time, then you really are not putting together 400 and 500 year plans to control lands and races of people. So these are godless acts that we've been engaging in for a very long time, meant to build man up and ultimately tear the world down, I believe. And so religious people have been telling us this for a long time, and it sounds like mumbo jumbo. But as I go into myself and pray to myself, pray to God rather by myself, in this in this space, that's exactly what comes to mind. That's what ends up coming to my spirit. That old mumbo jumbo about getting right because it's almost over. I look at that as mumbo jumbo, just like a lot of people do. You kidding me? It's not almost the last days. Every generation says Jesus coming back, and they go in their graves without him coming back. This is something I've come to understand and believe, even though I think Jesus coming back based on my religion. The reality is every day he don't come back. So it's one of those situations where it's like, I too will listen to what it is I'm saying and naturally come to a space where I'm skeptical. But the reality is my truth is, that's exactly what meditation has brought me. It's all come back around to get right now. And the calendar will prove why it was important to do so at this time. And so I'm like, all right, man, I don't know what happens next. But I've seen enough change in my life to know that things can change overnight. I've seen enough 9/11s. I've seen enough Katrinas. I've seen enough pandemics at this point to know that this could be the day before the world changes. And so you got to be open-minded about those type of things, if nothing else. And as I continue to tell you guys about my journey, I'm telling you it's time to be. It's absolutely time to be, as it pertains to getting our affairs in order. Get your life right. Get your soul right, as if you're not planning on being here forever. That's how we have to move, because I do think that great change is coming. And the evidence of great change is in place based on this tool that I'm referring to, this internet. This tool is unprecedented. This tool is being used without any balance or any regulation whatsoever. And those who want to regulate it may not exactly be the greatest of folks. This tool can bring about some unprecedented stuff based on the absence of privacy, based on the ability to compare data, as we've talked about many times, It's based on the ability for human minds to, subject themselves to God knows what for how long. You know what I mean? The unprecedented nature of what a person could submerge themselves with in terms of content. These are things that were not present in the world that they ran. They didn't have a world where a dude could literally watch, the Baby Shark video infinitely for the rest of his life if he wanted to, by will. Like the only thing he ever subjects himself to, put on his headphones for the rest of his life and listen to Baby Shark do. Like someone could do that. They could literally do that. And so these are the type of things where it's like you don't have a world where everybody's thinking the same way. You don't have a world where people can't evolve in some miraculous, amazing way based on them being able to submerge themselves with ridiculous amounts of information. You don't know how great brains can be. You imagine what Einstein's brain would have been if he would have had a tool like this to learn from? Someone's genius mind has everything they need to take over the world. Somebody knows how to nestle themselves perfectly. They may not be alive today, but with this thing I'm holding in my hand, they can do stuff that's never been done before. And that's what I'm telling you is going to happen. God is real, and it's time for us to get our head together as it pertains to certain things. The world cannot stay the way that it was because something like this never existed before. Humans didn't have nothing like this. It connects them in instant time. It can allow them to disprove lies, etc. Allow them to communicate and to share different things and ideas. It allows you to move money really, really fast. This is a different world. Very different. And those who've been in control of it for so long, they don't have no control over what it is that's in place. Just like they never had no control over the God that was in place that they denied. That too was always outside of their control. So now they're dealing with two things that compromises their power. Both the internet and the actual presence of a living God. So that's what I got to say, man. Continue to connect with that living God, man. Pray for others. Pray for people. Get your spirit in a space where you're unselfish inside. Because it's the darkness that we have, that selfishness, that main character desire that ultimately gets used against us each and every time we reach for any type of thing that we want for ourselves and our families. It's going to be somebody there to take advantage of the selfishness and the ability to not be able to step outside of your own way in regards to what it is that you want. I'll always use your sins against you. That's what they're going to do. My name is BDF 44. I thank you all for watching, and I'm out.